activists, so I know you have voices.
Truth.
So, come on. Truth? What else?
Diversity.
Diversity.
Support network.
Support network. These are all words that describe this community and the vision that the Dallas Peace Center is working towards. As everyone has shared with you, I'm new to Dallas. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas. I've been here for 6 months. And when I came here, I wanted to find a place to continue my justice and peace work. And there was Dallas Peace Center and their amazing work that they do. And I want to ring out, they've been doing it for over 30 years. So just for that, clap and applaud for over 30 years of doing peace and justice work. I want to ring out my other people who work at the Dallas Peace Center and volunteer at the Peace Center and work to provide a voice for the voiceless. My other board members who are here, I know Diane Baker's here, I know Tiana Sevson is here, I know Mavis Bilel is here, Ian Hunter was here, Pastor William I saw come in. I don't think I'm missing anyone else. I don't see anyone else. But also who have been there day to day and working very hard for the Dallas Peace Center is the staff of the Dallas Peace Center. Our office manager, an amazing organizer, Zara Tariq. Where's Zara over there? And how can you put it? I mean, wondrous, amazing, hardworking, everlasting and loving, continuously doing justice work, Kelly Obazi, our executive director. When everyone came in, hopefully you got one of these forms here. If not, raise your hand and we'll get one to you. These are our new pledge forms to become a member of the Dallas Peace Center, to become a peace patron. Our goal is to gain 300 members actually within a month. 300 members that will sustain us, pledge $30 a month. 300 members to pledge $30 a month. That will sustain Dallas Peace Center to do not only continual panels and forums like this, but continue the amazing work that we've been doing for over 30 years. So please take the time, fill out this form, see me, see any of the other board members that are out there if you have any questions, but become a peace patron at the Dallas Peace Center. Just $30 a month, that's $1 a day for a month, unless it's February, but still, hey, that's great. Or even if you don't want to become a peace patron at $30 a month, we'll take you at $50 a month. No problem. But even if you want to do $1 a month, because doing this work takes everyone. Because building our vision is going to take all of us here. And even more, right? So become a peace patron, $30 a month, fill out your pledge form, hand it to me or another board member as you go out. If you need a form, no problem, we got plenty. All right, thank y'all for this afternoon.
Thank you, Eric and Hattie. And now, going back to the final one, and I'll say this. It's not just the peace sign that kept the peace work going, or it's not just the bumper sticker. It takes actual effort. If you can volunteer your time, at least just helping us with a little cash will do. Now, I'd like to introduce an extremely valuable member of the peace community, both in Dallas and internationally, worldwide. Chip Pitts is past president of the Bill of Rights Defense Committee and a lecturer in law at Stanford Law School and Oxford University. His writing has appeared in newspapers and magazines such as The Washington Post, The Wall Street Journal, The Nation, and The New Republic. As a former chair of the Amnesty International USA and was the Dallas Peace Center 2004 Peacemaker of the Year. Please put your hand together. Help me welcome Chip Pitts.
Thank you, Tunde, and all of you. I tell you, I've been spending so much time out of Dallas. It's great to be here and among friends, especially the Dallas Peace Center and people like Tunde and Kelly and listening to Eric and Hadi. I just can't tell you enough what a special place this Peace Center is in my heart. It's particularly impressive because, you know, it's in Dallas. You know, you're fighting against the odds here, and believe me, I just really respect that so much. I also want to thank the other the co-sponsors here, the ACLU and MLFA and LULAC and RITA and CARE and so forth. We're actually at a crossroads, and I think that there's a chance that we might be able to really get some momentum toward fighting back against these regressions in the rule of law and human rights. Before I continue that, I would like to have a special thank you for those in the audience from the FBI, the CIA, the DIA, the NSA, the DHS, the TSA, and all those other acronyms. Rather than speak for a half an hour, which I'm slated to do, it's late. That would be a human rights violation, in my opinion. So I'm going to abridge my comments, but you know, I do want to pick up on some of the themes from the sterling, really wonderfully enlightening presentations we've heard. I learned a lot this afternoon. Let's give them another round of applause. Really fantastic speakers. I'm going to try to do three things today, very briefly. I think I would be remiss to get up here before you and not reflect a little bit on the amazing and dramatic events in the world, the Arab Spring, the revolution that's happening, and how those events abroad relate to our work here. Secondly, I would like to give some thoughts on the issues advertised. I'll try to cover quickly, you know, so we're not guilty of false advertising, what you've been told that I'm going to speak on: Patriot Act, FISA, body scanners, FBI investigations, and so forth. And then I'm finally going to try to concentrate on just a few practical things that I think we can do in order to fight back. Now, our topic today is normalizing crisis mode, and I think that was a very prescient topic, because that's what we have today, and that's the most frightening thing about the situation. Is we've seen, you know, this panoply of laws. We go back into some of the themes you've heard of from Reverend Halsey Hicks and the other speakers about the original sin. It wasn't really even the Constitution's endorsement of slavery in the 3/5 Clause. Even before that, our nation, of course, was founded by a genocidal massacre of Native Americans, the original Americans. Everyone else, everybody here that's not a Native American, is an immigrant. All of us came from somewhere else, and our ancestors did. So we have to remember that. But then, of course, at the founding of the Constitution, there were original sins. Most people that were involved in that process, most of the citizens, in fact, of the United States had no voice. The majority of people in the country at that time, the colonies and then the fledgling nation, women, slaves, Native Americans, they were not counted as part of the franchise. It took centuries, really, for that to happen. You know, the Jim Crow laws that I also grew up with in the South, and you know, really inspired me. That's how I got involved in human rights. I saw it in Louisiana, where I grew up, and then ended up going to South Africa and working as a young lawyer against apartheid. But this is what's really scary, is when it happens so much around you that you're really like the proverbial frog in boiling water, or the fish in the sea, where you start accepting that the new normal is for everybody to be surveilled ubiquitously, for people to be arrested, as Khalil Meek from the Muslim Legal Fund of America was discussing, without probable cause, without a warrant, without even being guilty of terrorism, but on the sort of preemptive prosecution that we hear about and see on the movie screens, like in Tom Cruise's Minority Report movie. This sort of thing that's happening in our country is really shocking to someone that had grown up seeing a still imperfect nation, but an expanding circle of liberty. You know, where we were including women, we were including African Americans, we were even now starting to talk about gay and lesbian rights. And, you know, we're seeing real progress in some of those areas. But once again, as we've heard, the undercurrent is coming back. And we're starting to demonize people of color again. Muslim Americans are at the forefront, but people mistaken for them. From the Mediterranean, Latin Americans, you know, this is intolerable. And we all must realize that it's going against the core American values. those values that were imperfectly implemented at the present founding of our nation, but we're always making progress toward. We're seeing a regression in that, and that's not acceptable. So this normalization is really problematic. Now, I've got some friends that defend President Obama, including, in fact, some very good civil libertarian friends who were very vociferous against the abuses of the Bush administration. But now that Obama's in office, the first black president and so forth, they want to support him. And so some of my friends who are among the best thinkers on this are suddenly rationalizing preventive detention and surveillance. And I'm saying, wait a second, guys, are you not seeing what I'm seeing? And I don't know what the reasons are for this. I think that part of it's the benefit of the doubt factor, trying to give the benefit of the doubt to President Obama. Part of it's, opportunism. Some of them are saying it's a Democratic administration's now is my time, now is my moment. But for whatever reason, it's unacceptable. We don't get anywhere if we don't, as some of the speakers said, have very clear fact-based, objective views about what's happening. Now let's talk about the Middle East a little bit, because this is quite ironic. At the very time we're now talking about extending our emergency law, the Patriot Act, they're in Egypt and Libya and Jordan. They're talking about repealing and reforming their emergency laws. At the very time that our Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, is condemning those countries for shutting down the Internet, our President Obama and the Congress is debating the so-called Internet kill switch legislation, where they could shut down the Internet on the President's fiat, just a declaration of emergency. This is very problematic, obviously, because we saw, it's not an Internet or Facebook or Twitter phenomenon, but those technologies are just as critical as the telephone, mobile phones, to being able to have activism when it's most needed. So Obama, I'm afraid, he talked about hope and change, and his speech in Cairo was beautiful, but then he was very slow in supporting the revolution in Egypt, horrendously slow. And, we were always a step behind the events on the ground. So that wasn't either hope or change. And it's the same thing, I think, in the United States. We're out of step with our historic values. We're also out of step with the new global realities. The new global realities are this uber-transparent world where you've got unprecedented technological and social change. Just think about it. David was talking about when he was very young. Now, you weren't actually there at the time of the founding of the country, were you? I don't think so, but almost. Your father, okay. That's right. But, he covers a lot of history. And what he said is true. Just think about what's happened in David's lifetime and our lifetimes. In the 20th century, we didn't have aviation at the beginning of the century. Now we have airplanes going, shortening the distance of travel from months to hours to get from one side to the other. We've got faxes, we've got the Internet. These amazing technologies, and the pace of change is just accelerating so rapidly. It's a little disconcerting, but I have no doubt. I don't have kids, but the children of those of us in the audience today will see a world that's dramatically different from the world that we're in today. And these forces of transparency and change are sweeping through the Middle East and North Africa, from Green Square in Tripoli, Tahrir Square in Egypt, Pearl Square in Bahrain. These are the most dynamic places on the globe today. I was in Berlin. I happened to be there on a trip when the Berlin Wall fell, just as I was in South Africa when that apartheid wall fell down. And I had the same feeling today. I'm hoping it's not limited to those countries, but this is a very exciting time when dictators are falling in various countries and populations are rising up and demanding transparency and accountability. And those two factors, transparency and accountability, are really at the heart of a lot of the infringements of rights that we're talking about. Other global factors are going to be affecting this. You may not remember, but the rise in food prices was a big factor that spurred the Tunisian revolution, and so it was like the little catalyst that then spread to Egypt and the other countries, Yemen and so forth. And the rise in food prices, unfortunately, is continuing. Coffee prices are up 100% in the past year. Wheat is up 60% globally. Corn is up. These are causing a lot of hardships. When you've got a country like Egypt that lives on less than $2 a day and half the income is spent on food, and you've got 1 billion people that are hungry, that's the sort of pent-up pressure that can result in revolution. So there's a dark side as well as a positive side to these factors. Those dark forces, I'm thinking of the things that we've also heard reference to today. Forces that are active in the world still. Privatization, deregulation, the so-called Washington Consensus. How many of you are aware that half of our forces in Afghanistan and Iraq are private military contractors? You know, you're a very enlightened and sophisticated audience. A lot of people don't realize that. Do you know as well that the NSA has half of, on one side of the street, it's the NSA's official government buildings. On the